Hello and welcome to my latest video. This is going to be a design review of the BMW 1300 GS. Now the reason I've chose this bike is simple really. I've seen loads of controversy regards the design of it and I wanted to talk about why I think this actually is and put an explanation to it. So the entire problem begins with the fact that BMW are the king. They sell loads of these. They're very expensive, they're completely premium. And the problem is, if you're the absolute king, you've always got to be the biggest and best. It will always draw comparisons with spec sheet warriors comparing various elements of it with everything else that's on the market. As a result of this, BMW know they have to be the biggest and best. They have to be the absolute king. And this is what somewhat trapped them and led to this design. Now it's not like they can't make beautiful motorcycles and have done for a long time. I can think of a few off the top of my head, but they generally make absolutely beautiful motorcycles. And underneath this one I'll point out some bits that are actually beautiful on it. I just think they've been held back by themselves. They have to put so much into it to be the biggest and best. This is what's sort of damaged the design. So when you undertake the design of anything, and I'm talking absolutely anything that needs design, be it cars, coats, socks, tables, whatever you're going to design, you have to think about the environment it's going to be in and the task it's going to have, and especially if you're selling something, it has to appeal to a certain market. The very first principle when you start doing this is to actually balance the masculinity and the femininity within a design. Because we're humans, we tend to anthropomorphize everything, so we put human characteristics into it itself. This is especially apparent with the design of things like vehicles. We treat them as if they're a family member, we build personalities into them. This is why so many manufacturers work to build faces into the front of cars and bikes, to give it that personality. There's some very good examples of this that's done deliberately to try and sell more. For example, did you know that if a car looks angry or grouchy, it will sell more? It's amazing that. This is why all new cars look kinda angry. Headlights obviously fill the place of eyes, grills are obviously the mouth. I mean, the movie Cars does it from Pixar. We anthropomorphize anything like this. And I think this is where the problems begin to start with this design. Given the market that they're actually going for, it's a rugged, outdoors, macho, heroic, adventurous, exploration kind of vibe that they're going for with this. Now when you're doing a design, you have to balance the masculine and feminine within the design. This doesn't mean that it's a girl's car or a boy's car. This is within everything we design as human beings. The masculine tends to incorporate angular, strength, muscular, practical, adventurous kind of themes, and the feminine tends to include elegant, soft, curved, lighter themes. This is really deep ancient evolution and biology going on here. I can actually give you a very good example. If you look at the eyes of men and women, men's eyes, the shape of them tends to be square, and women's eyes, the shape of them tends to be more rounded. This is because men have an extra bone across their forehead, probably for headbutting logs or something, and this means masculine eyes have got a square top to them. But this generally carries through everything, and you'll notice in the design of things, if they want it to appeal to a certain market, they'll lean it more into the masculine or lean it more into the feminine. However, this doesn't mean necessarily that you're going to make a feminine product to sell to women. As a good example, women are the #1 buyers of large SUVs, and women are drawn to them because of their masculine attributes. Big, powerful, strong, safe, angled. All these attributes you can apply to big SUV cars, and that's what women are actually drawn to, and that's why the manufacturers do it deliberately to sell it to them. So I think the problem here is because they've been trying so hard to be the biggest and best, they've leaned too hard into the masculine, and as a result the design has just went over the top, and this is why it's divisive to people. If you lean a design too far into masculine or feminine, it becomes almost a parody of itself. It becomes somewhat ridiculous, and that's what I think has happened here. First of all, just looking at it from the side, the shape is so over the top, it's so testosterone driven. I immediately think of a buffalo when I see it. Just that heavy set masculine front end and the small butt on it. Look at this photo for comparison. Now if we actually look at the lines through the bike, it's got really good lines, it's got some really nice features, the little exhaust is really nice, and I know there's twin exhaust variations on it. There's some lovely little rugged design features that I would expect in an adventure bike, and the actual main lines are very clean. The secondary lines that flow from this are all very clean. It's very pushing forward, it's very adventurous, it's very strong. It's selling you a design of strength and power. Right from the outset, it's saying almost like, I will go anywhere, I will do anything. However, the one major problem is, in order to give it the bike enormous range, so that when people are comparing it on spec sheets they can see how far they can get into the Andes or whatever, it means the centre portion, the shoulders of the bike are absolutely enormous. This tank is cartoonishly large. It actually gives off ludicrous steroid bodybuilder vibes. It's so hilariously over the top and macho, it completely overwhelms the rest of the bike. They're trying so hard to predict strength, it does that thing where bodybuilders in real life, the ones that are all juiced up, just look absolutely farcical. It's so macho it's become cartoony. Now what I don't understand too is, I don't wonder if they were fighting with the size of this as well, so they've tried to disguise it with various lines and shapes and design language within it. The problem is, it's all over the place. Now, you know, I've mentioned in other videos clean lines, clean design, and themes that go through the whole design of something. There's just a whole bunch of things going on in here. Different shapes, there's grills, there's holes, there's spaces, there's verticals, there's horizontals, there's diagonals, and it all seems to be fighting amongst itself all the time. Normally someone would do all of this just to try and hide this enormous lump in the middle of it. I think that's what they've been trying to do. I don't think it works at all, and this is the root of why the design is controversial. It breaks into three main areas. There's the back of it, which is fairly clean. I don't know why they didn't carry it through elsewhere. The underside part is just loads of shapes. What might be cool is the outline looks like a mountain range. I don't know if that was deliberate, but I would have explored it more rather than just what looks like a bunch of random parts. And then the little top bit with the light on it, again, is a totally different design language. It doesn't make any sense as to why there's three completely different designs all in the one space, unless they're simply trying to hide the enormity of the tank. Now, when you see the top of the tank, I burst out laughing when I seen this, because it is so absurdly massive. The bike is so thick, it's just absolutely ridiculous. To give you some example of just how ridiculously proportioned it is, the wing mirrors, which are normal size wing mirrors, and the handles look absolutely tiny by comparison. It's way too big, it's way too overpowering. It looks actually absurd at this point. It does look like a ludicrous bodybuilder. This was the image that sprung to my mind, with the wing mirrors being little ears. It just completely gave me hippopotamus vibes. It just looks like a giant thing looking back at you with an enormous head. Definitely not sleek, definitely not fast. I know they're trying to give power and adventure and brave feelings to it, but it's went past that. It's taking too many roids. It's on testosterone injections, so it's just gotten to the point where it's impractical and silly. Now, talking about anthropomorphizing our vehicles or designs to give them personality and characteristics, one of the areas as well that I think has put a lot of people off is the face of the bike itself. Now, a lot of vehicles, they always build a specific attractive face into something for obvious reasons. You will see this on a lot of bike designs, the face will look like eyes. Now, one of the reasons I don't like adventure bikes personally, I think they're very good at what they do, but their face with the massive suspension travel, the big open radiator, always reminds me of Donald Sutherland. It looks like it's shrieking at you as it looks at you. Whereas BMW have avoided the face thing entirely and went for this alien light design. Now the problem with it is it doesn't read as lights and it doesn't read as eyes. So I think this throws a lot of people off as well. And then again on the front profile, we can see this enormous tank completely taking over the shape of the bike. It just gives Giga Chad vibes whenever I look at it. It's so big and overwhelming. It looks like a bodybuilder carrying back his shopping from the car. Then when it's brought all together with the racks, with everything, it's not got the back boxes on it, but just as a whole here, you can see how many different shapes are all fighting with each other. You've got the guard on the underside of the cylinder head, you've got the exhaust, you've got the brackets to hold the back boxes in, and you've got that fuel tank. And while the lines are pretty solid through the bike, there's not a lot of consistent language. It just seems mostly like macho, make it more, more muscular, more macho, more adventurous, more strong, more male. And because of that, it literally now just looks like it's taken far too many steroids and can't get through a door. So I think it's probably good now that people are moving away from these enormous bikes, because I don't know if BMW could go any further with this. It's so masculine, it's so macho in its design, it's so over the top. For the next one they would have to make an Abrams tank. It's the only place left to go after this. And what tends to have happened is a lot of the other manufacturers, including BMW, have now realised this and are reverting back to smaller bikes. You don't need these enormous fuel tanks. How many of the owners are actually going to need that? I've seen people on YouTube cross the United States on choppers with little tiny tanks, and you just put a little thing of fuel on the back of your bike. You've got enough storage to take a little can of fuel in case you got really stuck. But this is spec sheet warrior, so people want this enormous fuel tank. I don't know what percentage of people buy these actually go on these massive adventures across the Sahara that need it, but it's that sort of thing where they're selling dads, who are the only folk that can afford it, who are like maybe got families, they're settled down, they're a little bit dull. They've probably got all the right tools and a box full of cables that are very useful that they keep hold of. And what BMW are selling them is a dream of an adventure, not an actual adventure. That's why the meme is so often the Starbucks meme with these, because the dads don't like to feel they're boring and settled, they still want to feel adventurous. So BMW sell them that, even although it's only going to get used to go to Starbucks for coffee. Now, to be fair, generally as a design, it's actually got a lot of really good qualities and really good features. And I expect as well, if you wanted to just munch miles across Europe, it would be absolutely the perfect bike to do it. It would be phenomenal, stable, powerful, fast. It could probably sit all day at 70 miles an hour and just cross France. But I think maybe the other BMW adventure bikes are probably actually more suited to real life and are far prettier. This has just gotten to the point of absurdity, and that's why I don't think the design works, and that's why it's divisive for people. The one down, I think it's the 1250, just works so much better. It's so much more of a whole design that all holds together much better. It's like it really is as simple as they pushed the design too masculine too far, and as a result it just got too much, and that's why it divides people. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed my take on this. This is just my opinion as an artist. I like doing these bike reviews. If you've got any questions or comments, put them in below, and like and subscribe would be appreciated. Thank you very much, and till next time, bye bye!